beginning of your search for your ancestors and feeling a little overwhelmed, not really quite sure where to start? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the best beginner genealogy tips from my viewers and readers based on their personal research experience. Hey there, if we haven't met before, I am Lisa with Are You My Cousin, and this YouTube channel is designed to help you find your ancestors, grow your family tree, but not be overwhelmed in the process. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Now, today's video is sponsored by Story.com. Family history isn't just about names and dates. It's about our family stories, the triumphs, the quirks, the everyday moments that shaped who you are and who your ancestors were. Capturing that type of information is something that I am passionate about. But being able to document my family's quirky moments and stories and share them in an organized manner has not always been easy for me. And that's where Story comes in. Story isn't just another family tree builder. Yes, you can research and grow your family tree there, but it's also a platform that lets you capture not just the facts, but the stories. I recently shared about my great-grandmother's hilarious dislike of daylight savings time. Her clocks were never changed to daylight savings time. I don't really know how she managed, but she did. That's a story that would be forgotten if I didn't document it. And it's these stories that really capture the interest of other family members and create those family connections across generations. Story also recognizes that family history is not just a solitary journey. Their group's feature allows you to collaborate with other relatives, add photographs, and weave together those pieces of family lore that could be lost otherwise. So don't let your family stories be lost. Head over to Story.com and use coupon code LISA20 to get 20% off and start your family history journey today. Now, in a recent newsletter that I sent to my followers, I asked readers and viewers to share their best genealogy advice for someone who is just starting out to research their family tree. And I was so impressed by the answers and the advice that they gave. And so I wanted to give you guys a chance to learn from other researchers and learn some of their tips, their strategies that worked for them. So I'm going to jump right into it with this very first tip from Tanya. And Tanya said that the most logical and best place to start your genealogy research is with what you know. And that is you, yourself. Then work your way back methodically, one generation at a time. Document your own birth, marriage, and other life events that are important to you. Then do the same with your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, documenting those birth, marriage, death dates if they are applicable. And if you're not 100% sure that it's correct, maybe you think you know a birth date, maybe you think you know who your grandmother's sibling was, that's okay. Write it down anyway, and just make note that you need to confirm that later. Why is this an important first step? Why is this something that Tanya and I have often instructed folks to do when you're first starting out or going back and firming up your basics? Because this gives you a very solid foundation for your research. When you start with information that you already know, when you start with verified information about yourself and your immediate family, you can then start to build backwards and add generations with the facts based on the facts that you know. Now, tip number 2 comes from Winnie. And Winnie recommends using a timeline for each person in your tree that you're working on, particularly those hard-to-find ancestors. When you are just starting out and you build a timeline for an ancestor, it helps you get and understand a complete story. It helps you understand their life a little bit better. And it also can help you identify gaps in your research of places that you might be missing something. So I highly recommend, if you are just starting out, or if you have been researching for a while and you're struggling to solve a difficult research problem, go ahead and create that timeline. I think you'll be surprised at what you discover using that. For instance, if you have nothing documented on your ancestor between the 1910 census and the 1925 death record for that ancestor, that's a big gap in time where you don't know anything about that ancestor, where they went, who they associated with, and what was happening in their life. So those empty spaces on a timeline will help direct your research to the next step. Now, you'll find an in-depth blog post article on my website, Are You My Cousin, about timelines, and you can actually see some examples of types of timelines that I use to create for my ancestors. I'll have a link for that down in the description below as well. So tip number 3 comes from Alan, and he says, research your collateral lines as well. Don't limit yourself to just your direct ancestors. Look into the siblings, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles of your ancestors as well. These collateral lines, these sidelines, if you will, can hold valuable clues to your genealogy research, as well as fill in your family story a little bit more. So, for example, if you're struggling to find information on your great-grandmother, it might be her sister's obituary in a newspaper that could give you clues to who the parents were and maybe where the family originally came from. So sometimes the records for the siblings of our direct ancestors can give us valuable information and can help us answer the questions that we can't actually do if we only look at that direct ancestor. Now, for those of you who have been doing research for a little bit, do you have a favorite tip to share with those who are just starting out researching their family history? If so, let me know in the comments below. Now, tip number 4 comes from Patricia. And Patricia says, don't copy other family tree information without verifying it first. Because this is so important. We want to make sure that when you add information to your own family tree, that it is accurate, that it is correct. When we find something in someone else's family tree online, it may or may not be correct. Online family trees can be helpful as a starting point and to give us clues. But if they are not well sourced or have really solid record documentation attached, then you run the risk of attaching someone to your tree and copying that information that is incorrect. So treat the information that you find on someone else's family tree as a hint or a clue and not as fact until you verify that information. Now, tip number 5 comes from Gary. And Gray says, look at the naming patterns. So pay attention to the naming patterns of the children within a family. Many cultures will follow traditional naming patterns of the children. So for instance, in some European cultures, you will find that the first son born will be named after the paternal grandfather. The second son born would be named after the maternal grandfather. And the third son would be named after the father. Now, we want to make sure, as with many things, that when it comes to paying attention to naming patterns, these can give us clues to other family members and to other generations of family members. But we do want to keep in mind that not all families followed these naming traditions or these naming patterns precisely. Use these naming patterns as clues to help you perhaps predict the next generation back. But you will need to continue to research to make sure you are able to confirm that information. Tip number 6 also comes from Gray, and he says here, be sure and check for nearby relatives within the census records. Now, if you are just starting out on your genealogy research, maybe you've been doing this for a while and you're circling back to the census records that you've looked at previously, remember that relatives may be living close to your ancestors. Families did often live close together, particularly from about the mid-20th century and earlier. And so when you find a family, your ancestor and their family on a census page, be sure and read the rest of that census page. Are they living close to an in-law? So one set of parents, perhaps they're living close to them. Maybe they're living close to a sibling. So maybe they live next door to a brother or a sister in his or her family. But I don't stop at just reading that census page, and Gray doesn't either. Okay, so the tip is, in addition to looking for other relatives for your ancestor on that page, go 5 pages back and 5 pages forward. Read the entries from the previous 5 pages on those census records, and then read forward the next 5 pages and read that census record. That is going to give you a good idea of who is in that community. It is also going to give you an opportunity to perhaps find other relatives of your ancestors, those collateral lines that can hold important clues. It's going to give you that opportunity to find them in the community by going that far out on the census pages. So by reading forward 5 pages and back 5 pages from your ancestor's entry, it's going to give you a better opportunity to perhaps find those relatives, those collateral ancestors who lived in close proximity to your ancestor, and give you some more data to work with. Additionally, when you're reading that many entries on a census record, you will know who lives in that community. You will recognize that community in other records, and you're going to start to recognize and understand the community with whom your ancestor actually lived in. Now, tip number 7 comes from a reader, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch their name, but if you're watching, thank you so much for submitting this tip as well. And that tip is to work through online tutorials for databases. So when you are researching for your ancestor and you are looking and researching in one of the many genealogy databases that are out there, or maybe you're working and searching through the digital collections at your state archives, take a moment up front before you dive right into the records and start researching willy-nilly. Take a moment and work through the tutorials. Maybe they have tutorial videos on a particular record set, the tutorial on how to actually get the best search results for that particular site. So the point here is that you are learning and making sure you understand how to search that particular site so that you get the best search results. Sometimes, and I have been really bad about doing this early in my research, I would just jump into searching in a database. Now, I actually made this mistake frequently too when I was first starting out my genealogy research. And quite frankly, I lost a lot of time and I missed some valuable clues up front and had to redo some research. Because if we understand how to research in a database, whether it's one of the many genealogy databases out there, whether it's a digital collection in a state archives, whatever you're looking at, if you understand up front how to get the best search result, how they recommend that you search their databases, you increase your chances of having better search results. That means you save time, you're more accurate in your research, and then you can keep moving your research forward. So I do recommend that you take time up front, whether it's a full online tutorial video, or maybe it is even just the help section for the site that you're working with. Take some time up front, learn how to use it the right way based on their recommendation. And I think you're going to find that your research will move at a better pace and be less frustrating. Now, number 8 is from Stu, and he recommends focusing on quality over quantity when it comes to your family tree. It is very tempting to get caught up in adding as many people as possible to your family tree. It's such a good feeling to have this very full and flourishing family tree. But we want to make sure that our family tree is accurate. You put in a lot of work when it comes to researching your ancestors. And if you're just starting out, there's a lot of really fun work ahead of you. But we want to make sure that we're not creating a tree that's not accurate. It is much harder to undo mistakes in the future. So it's much easier when you're researching to make sure you're adding information to your family tree that you have verified in the record than if you were adding people thinking, yes, I think that's right, I'll verify it later. The problem with that is sometimes we forget to come back and verify it. Sometimes we're not even sure where that process started and who we need to actually verify. So it's much easier, much less time consuming to have a good quality tree as you're working your way through the generation, verifying the information, and then moving forward. It is time consuming and it is heartbreaking to have to chop off a proverbial limb from your family tree because you made a mistake early and didn't verify the information. And then, so not only do you lose all of the work that you've done and realize it's incorrect, but then you have to redo the work. So focus on quality entries into your family tree over quantity. Now, tip number 9 comes from Melody, and she recommends thinking creatively about your research approach. Now, I love this tip, and it may sound, if you're just starting out, you may be going, what is she talking about? But if you've been researching for a while, you're going to understand that sometimes the best discoveries that you find in your family history come from some of the most unexpected places. Consider researching those people around your ancestor who are not actually your direct descendants. Keep an open mind that the neighbors might play an important part and give you some clues to your ancestors' whereabouts. Sometimes the best discoveries come in unexpected places. Consider researching people who are not directly related to your ancestor. Look at the neighbors, look at their friends, look at their coworkers, look at the witnesses on the documents, such as a deed or a marriage license. These connections can open up new avenues of research when your traditional research methods have failed. Now, if this sounds like the fan principle that you might have heard about by Elizabeth Sheridan, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what this is. It's researching an ancestor's friends, associates, and neighbors to find clues about them and their daily life within their community to help you understand them better so that you can move your research forward in the records. Just remember that your ancestor did not live in isolation. Your ancestors lived in a community, and they would have been interacting within that community, within the family, within a faith family. They were participating as a citizen of that community. Their community relationships can tell you more about their lives and potentially lead to breakthroughs. Now, Melody also offers tip number 10, and this might be one of my favorites, and that is be patient. Family history research, finding those ancestors, takes time and it takes patience. You will not solve every family history mystery that you have or that you thought about that has come through your family in a weekend. Some brick walls, as we call them, can last months and even years. But I want you to enjoy the process. Recognize that it takes time. Recognize that it takes patience. Sometimes we just have to wait for that one record set, that one record collection that would really help us out to be digitized and put online for us to research. But enjoy the process because you will find and be able to celebrate interesting family history facts about your family along the way. Just remember, genealogy research is more of a marathon than a sprint. Now, if you would like to learn more about getting started with your genealogy research, or you just like a refresher on the basics, watch the video on your screen now. Unravel your family's history, a beginner's guide to genealogy.